Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, That One Rebel here, back again for another interview. This is interview number 300. Let me just say that again, number 300. I know that sounds crazy that I'm doing that many interviews, and it's been almost 4 years, but ladies and gentlemen, we finally done it. We hit the big three. So I appreciate everyone. Just a quick thank you to everybody for all my subscribers, my viewers, the people on YouTube that watch the VODs. I know who you are. So I always appreciate it for supporting me and getting to where I am today. So again, if you're ever curious who the guest is, you can always type !plate guest into the chat. It'll go to Castle's Twitter, I believe is what I set it up as, or as a VR chat group. And then we have that, and if you have any questions for the audience, you can always put !plate questions. You type your name, you type your question and name, and then we'll get to it in about an hour or so. Hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight, and without further ado, let's introduce our guests. Coming from behind the curtains, Castle.
Oh my god.
Hello,
Right.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. Let's see. Alright, get comfy.
Yeah, the command is
How
gas
you
with
doing?
a finesse.
It's crazy.
Gun bladder.
It's been a long time. I never thought I'd actually be on the show. This is cool.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
You helped build this world, so I mean, it's only appropriate,
Yeah, there was a bit of work to it, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You doing all right? All right.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm doing good. A little nervous.
It's
I didn't
okay.
take that shot at Kraken like I suggested.
That's okay, man.
I'm just sober.
I'm the one who's really nervous here because listen, man, this is a big deal for me. But
Holy crap. Alright.
yeah, don't worry. The guest is always the more nervous one because if I fuck up, then it's gonna be a bad look on me, But anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll ask some, basic questions, and then we'll get into more specific things. Obviously, talking about the Oasis and stuff like that. But we'll give some basic questions out the way. So the first thing I always like to ask is, well, how'd you get the name Castle? Like, why the name The Castle? Like, I just want to know.
Back in the early 1990s, it was late 1990s, I started using the name The Castle, because I worked on a lot of Quake 3 maps, and that was back in the day, like long before I got into the game industry and stuff like that. And I built a lot of castles.
Oh, okay. Wait, how
Yeah.
old are you? You said like 90s. What?
Yeah, I'm
I was-
44.
Oh shit. Okay, I thought you were like 30 something. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Probably the oldest person I interviewed. Maybe. Okay, I was like 90s. I was like, man, I was like 1 year old, man. I was like Google Gaga,
1 year old.
Okay.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So you were there before the internet even existed. Like you're on your little Macintosh. You're like, oh boy, Apple.
It was pretty different. We had answering machines. You ever seen one of those?
Yeah, bro. I'm not a Zoomer. I know what a fax machine and an answering machine is, dude. I know what a beeper is. Okay, like I know what that is. Like my dad had one.
Yeah. It was interesting times. Get to see the internet start up. Everybody freaking out over chat rooms. Chat rooms were the big thing in the early 90s.
Yeah. I've
It's
heard
like,
about that. Wasn't it like it was before AOL? It was like, I don't know. It was like.
It was AOL.
It was AOL.
I think it was. I mean, it was IRC is called Internet Relay Chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no emojis, right? It was just simply, hey, what's up, bro? I'm from Germany. And you're like, whoa, dude.
Yep. That was basically what it was.
You're like, want to play Quake, bro?
Right.
And then they're like, oh, shit, I'll fuck you up, bitch.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, bro.
Yep.
Damn.
And then you go in, you start up a server. You know what I mean? You got a dedicated server going. Yeah, man, I gotta dedicate it, and then everybody jumps on. We free for all and kill each other with rocket launchers.
Damn. And this is before voice chat, right? It was just all text, right? You couldn't voice chat in those games. Or could you?
Yeah, it was all text back then. No,
Oh,
yeah, come to think
shit.
about it, it was all text.
Damn,
Yeah, yeah.
bro.
Now think about it.
Damn.
It's hard to believe what it was like. It was completely different. Well, in a
Wow.
lot of ways.
That's what I didn't know like damn. Talking about the old days here, but it is interesting to think about. Because from your point of view, you were here when the internet first started, and now look at us. We're fucking got headsets on. We're all hot anime girls, or a hellhound for you.
Oh my God.
Like what the fuck? For you, it must have been like this is the future, man. What the what the hell?
Yeah, we're currently in the future right now. It happened. It's pretty interesting, and my God, if me from 20 years ago could have seen what's going on right now and see myself right now, I'd probably flip.
Oh
It's
yeah.
pretty wild.
Okay, so you started making maps for Quake 3 specifically, and you're making castles. So were these like
Well,
just?
Doom. I started with Doom.
Oh, okay, you started with Doom.
Doom was my
Okay.
first maps.
I know. I've heard that the
Yeah, DEU.
pipeline is that like every game could be traced back to like Doom essentially and Wolfenstein, like any first-person shooter. Wasn't it?
It changed the industry. They definitely did.
Yeah.
They had a massive impact on the way everybody views like 3D gaming.
Even my
So-
my dad plays zero video games, and my grandfather passed away. But like they never played a single video game. But when they first got their first computer, like Windows computer, it came with Doom, and they're like, "What's this? What's Doom?"
It came with it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a selling point, man. They're like, Doom, what is this, man? Whoa.
Oh man, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. So wasn't it like Doom and Wolfenstein, then it was Quake, and then after Quake it was like Half-Life, and then Halo?
Essentially, you're
Yeah.
skipping a few.
Well, I don't remember the entire pipeline. It was something like that. But I remember like Half-Life was the game that basically gave story. Like that was the one that
Yep.
gave the background, because every other game was just kill thing, boom, 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 And then people are like, wait a second, you don't get a gun for the first like hour of the game. What the hell? There's backstory and shit.
Yeah.
And voice acting.
Hey, they did it so well too. They like nailed the execution on Half-Life. It basically invented the modern first-person shooter in terms of like narrative and storytelling. And it's kind of weird because not a lot of people actually managed to maintain that system that they did. The show but don't tell storytelling
Yeah.
wasn't actually something that kept going. Like that should have been something that we should have kept replicating, but we never did. So now we have these big long cutscenes where they tell you everything and
Yep.
they don't show you anything. It happens too often. But if you play the original Half-Life, it's like everything was show but don't tell. You know what I mean? The characters came up to you and reacted to you. Everything that happened in Half-Life was just you were seeing it in front of you,
Yeah.
and they didn't explain it. You know what I mean? One of the best parts of first Half-Life that really showed that was when you first find the military grunts, and there was a scientist runs towards them. Your guys are finally saved us, and the guy just guns them down.
Yeah.
Perfect example of show but don't tell storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
beautiful.
Absolutely. Now games have to spoon feed you and be like, oh, make sure you block.
Yeah.
You have to parry the enemy when he's vulnerable, and then they keep saying it every 5 seconds, like I have ADHD or something. They're like, oh, make sure you block.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't block right, Kratos. Kratos, you have to do this. And you're like, shut up, bitch. Like, what the hell? Let me play the game.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's the gaming has regressed, but at least in the VR space,
A gift for
we're
me?
evolving in different
So
aspects,
sweet.
I often say that we're still in the 1990s
gift for
in terms
me?
of VR.
So sweet.
Oh,
And I think we
gotcha.
are actually.
I feel that. So in some aspects, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, we are like VR is like the pioneers. Like think about what we had like 5-6 years ago, man. Now look at us, bro. We got like you
Yeah.
got the Oasis. We got all these crazy things. We got you can scale your avatar. I don't know. You can do all these physics bones and all these people making their own
Yeah,
storylines.
Yeah, we're kind of at this point right now where it's like, we've had the player-driven, user-generated content environments with things like Second Life and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but we never had the immersion combined with that yet. So
Okay.
we're
For
still at a
me,
weird paradigm
so
where we
sweet.
have this like virtual reality thing, which is extremely immersive and has all
Yep.
these really amazing aspects to it,
Mhm.
but we still haven't quite reached Second Life in terms of like the way the world's created and how we interact with each other. It's a little strange.
You mean
I mean,
like?
Second Life has been around for a long time.
Do you mean like the economy part of it, or you just mean like the creating part? Because like you can build anything in
Both.
Unity and Blender if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but you can't do it in game.
That's true.
I'd say, yeah, if I can literally just build something, like if you look at Ready Player One as a reference,
Yeah.
I think Ready Player One is a really good reference. And basically, it looks like one of them there was I can't remember the second character. So the best friend of Parsival, and I'm blanking on their name right now, but they had a workshop where they were building the Iron Giant, right?
Oh, yeah,
so they
yeah.
were
I
building
remember that.
everything in game.
Mhm.
Yeah, all that stuff was being built in game. So that's sort of the Ready Player One paradigm, is like, everything was built inside of that environment, and they were probably in like a sub instance, and they had like a little cool bedroom off to the side. It was this like really cool space, right? And that's when virtual reality and Second Life were to actually come together, right? Don't
So,
you think?
well, I mean, you just described Neos VR basically. That's what you do in Neos VR.
Yeah, Neos is an interesting one. There's a lot to unpack with that though. It does do the user generated content in game. However, you're still importing the meshes. You're still having to build stuff in Blender and then you import it. We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We
I get what
can't.
you're
We don't
saying.
have. Yeah.
I get
We
what
can
you're
get pretty
saying.
close.
Yeah. So Gunblader, thanks so much
Yeah.
for the 3 gifts of subs. Appreciate it, homie. Yeah, I mean, we'll get there someday. It'll take another couple of years. These things, they take time. Just like Gaben used to say whenever everyone's like, "Where's Half-Life 3, bro?" So,
Yeah. Well, it took a long time for first-person shooters too. So there was a big point in the first-person shooter time frame where it was like we were waiting for the next big thing, and the next big thing would come, and then you know what I mean. But it never. It's flowing a bit differently now. But history seems to rhyme.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think in this case.
I gotcha. What can you tell me about your avatar specifically?
Oh.
we all use avatars to represent ourselves. So how does your avatar represent yourself?
It's something that I find to be really amazing to be, and it feels like a second skin. And I've been in it for a long time, and I've had Vix make my outfits, and
Oh, hell yeah.
improve the mesh and everything like that. And like I feel like I don't know. It's the same thing for a lot of people. When you go into virtual reality, you look at yourself and you notice that everybody else around you has a unique avatar, and then you eventually kind of arrive at something that feels like home, and it's just sort of like a natural
Yeah.
process. I
Yeah,
think a
I
lot
feel
of
that.
people who've played VR can attest to that. It just takes a while to find it.
Yeah, I can relate to that because when I first started playing VR Chat in December 2017, 10,000 hours ago, I can now say that because I hit 10,000 hours just the other day. But when that did happen, everybody was the same. Everyone just went to Big Al's or Traptrans Avatar World or whatever world it was at the time, and everyone was just the same fucking avatar. Like, I was like, this is bullshit, dude. There's like 10 Persona 5 Jokers, okay? Like, what the hell? Just 15 Bart Simpsons in the same instance, okay? What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So very quickly, I was like, I want to stand out, man. So I imported Kenny from The Walking Dead, the Telltale game, and that was the avatar I first represented myself. I was the only Kenny in the whole game. Because you had to, like, go for some loophole. You had to, like, get the
Yeah.
model and import it and all that shit, and... yeah, it was a pain in the ass.
Yep, it's a big process, but you eventually arrive at something that feels cool, and you just go with it, and it's neat. I think it's like a it's like a process that sort of everybody goes through. I call it the rabbit hole, but it probably shouldn't be described that way. You know what I mean?
I think it's more like a pipeline. You start playing VR Chat, you're a Giga Chat alpha male, And then slowly you're like, wait, what if I was a hot anime girl? And then 6 months later, you're like, wait a second, what if I want to be a femboy? And then you're just, going to the clubs, sucking the gok gok, like it happens,
Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, you wasn't expecting that one, but it happens. Like I've seen my friends do it. Okay, that's how I know.
It's not that I wasn't expecting it. It's just that it happens, though. Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic.
That's why there's always those memes you see on Twitter where it's just like, the recent one is like, I'm a 6'4" alpha male in real life, and then in VR chat I'm a 2-foot bunny girl, and then like they pull in the thigh highs and the programming socks. They're like, I'm a cute anime girl, and I'm like, yep, it happens, bro.
Yep. And you know a pattern I tend to see around me fairly often is the ex-military anime girl.
Yeah.
They used to be, they've been in combat, they've been through all kinds of things. Now they're an anime girl and they just want to get head pats and enjoy life, and that's kind of a thing.
Hey man, they served this country or our country, they served their time, and now they just want to be a hot anime girl.
By all means, let them.
Yeah, let them be an anime waifu.
Let them.
Yeah,
Let them.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I 100%. Yeah. To come to think of it, I know a lot of people in the military from VR chat. That's actually kind of crazy to think about. That so many of them are like, yeah, I've been on 3 tours, man. Like last year, man, I was in fucking Afghanistan, and now I'm in VR chat sucking some dick, and I'm like, hell yeah, man. What the fuck? I'm like, what a pipeline, dude. As I always like to say, just let them cook, just let them cook. Or as I like to use, just let them cook, guys. Let them cook. So, how did you get into VR chat initially? Like, where was your hopping on point?
I was kind of lost. I have a sort of a thing where it was a point in time where I wasn't really happy working for a big company anymore. And I was kind of sort of, because I've been in the game industry a long time, right? And I've been through a lot of different stuff. I worked at small companies. I worked at big companies. I worked for independent studio at least once before. No, twice, because Nerve was an independent studio as well. And then there was Unknown Worlds. And then like the way everything kind of flowed and everything like that, my brain works a certain kind of way, where I kind of need to be able to focus on something.
Yeah.
So the corporate environment doesn't work very well with me because I kind of sidestep social hierarchies. I just do my own thing and build my own social hierarchies. I don't really care about anybody else's social hierarchies. I just do that. And so the corporate side of things, not really that fantastic. Like working at Digital Extremes, I wasn't really content there, because it felt really weird. At first it was fantastic, but after a while you lose a little bit of direction, and then autism brain just does not cook anymore. You just can't stay focused on anything because it's like, well, we don't know what we're doing, so do something. And I'm like, well, I need to know what we're doing for me to do it, because I can't focus on something unless I have a plan. But when I'm working alone, I have a plan. And at that point, I don't know. I was kind of like lost. Like, I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this. So I tried building my own game. That was really cool because I had my own, I built a first-person shooter. But I'm not really fantastic at polishing things because I've always worked in a very specific, narrow-minded field of being just a world creator or a level designer.
Yep.
So I wasn't really good at building the UI, and I wasn't really good at making sure that, like, everything flows properly. That's because all the places that I've worked in the past, somebody else handled that stuff. I was the one who made the boss fights. I was the one who put together the damage formulas, and I was the one who made sure the pickups were in the right places, and the world flowed a certain way, and when you turn the corner, this event happens, and but like. It just, so I tried that for a little bit, but that's extremely difficult to stay focused forever. And then eventually I kind of just found myself kind of taking some time off, and and I ended up just getting involved with virtual reality, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is something that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that this is a complete. We have a completely new thing. I love new things, so I was just like, yeah, we're gonna have to get more involved with it. And at first, I didn't really take it super seriously because I was kind of just going through this weird phase, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of
When
like
was
an inverse
this?
midlife crisis. More like a I guess I'm just done here. What's that?
When was this?
This was probably the late 2000s, 2017, 2018-ish, something like that.
Okay.
Right before COVID. So I was involved with VR chat. I had a Club World, the Zombie Doll Lounge.
Yep.
We were hanging out a lot. Yeah, we did that for a while. And, you know, after a little while, I kind of got involved with it a little bit. Started kind of, you know, getting the idea of how everything flows. But I didn't really start taking things seriously until the castle, which was a world that I built after the Zombie Doll Lounge. And then at that point, something clicked, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. There's a completely new angle I can hit this from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's. And after that, I started thinking bigger. I was like, okay, wait. So this works with how my brain works because I can focus and do my thing how I want to. And I can be in a comfortable environment and make things work for how I, you know, how I function as a person. And I can still be on the cutting edge of something that a lot of people still not quite seeing yet. They don't quite understand, right? So it's a brand new thing, just like first-person shooters back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know. So it's like history kind of rhyming, not necessarily repeating, but at the same time, this time I'm like playing New Game Plus.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like, whoa, okay, let's do this. So that's what I'm doing,
Yeah, like
and that's what happened. That's how I got involved.
yeah, I do think like the connection you're making between how first-person shooters were 20, well, it was more like 25, almost 30 years
30
ago.
years
yeah, 30 years ago at this point. Fuck, where's the time been, man? Oh god. But like, you know, I'm assuming even you back then, like 20, 30 years ago, you could probably remember the early like VR system, like the Virtual Boy or whatever it was.
Oh, that was a
And they-
total joke.
And it was like these big machines, and you're like, what the fuck is this garbage, dude? Or like the Power Glove, and you're like, what is this shit, dude? And now like,
The power glove is such a meme.
yeah, so like all these like gimmicky things, and now it's actually becoming like this is what they thought the Virtual Boy should have been 30 years ago is what we have now, basically.
Oh my god, yeah. I remember seeing like virtual reality a long time ago. It was like, for the low price of 10 grand, you can have this gigantic
Yeah.
hat that kind of sort of works. It's
Yeah.
like, oh god. Oh.
Yeah, but now it's just a lightweight little paperweight that goes in your head, and you're like, whoa, like she anime girls, whoa. So
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good now. It's
Yeah.
it's actually pretty nice, but it's still enthusiast level.
yeah, I
You know what I
think
mean?
I think it's ramping up. I mean, if you compare like 6 years ago to like the Oculus Rift like C1 or the dev kit to now, like it's just like it's getting there, you know. Now when you think about in the next 5 or 6 years, I mean, shit, eye tracking is probably going to be more norm. You know, inside out tracking is already a thing with the Quest, but I could see that maybe for like an Index 2, maybe, I don't know. Like it's going to get better and better. People are shrinking the trackers, like, you know, if you look at like the Vive 1.0s or the 2.0s, they're like big large pucks, and now the 3.0s are like even smaller, and the Tundras are like microscopic, like little dinky things. Like, you know, it's getting there. It's getting more advanced.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
We also have we have Ready Player One as a movie
Yeah.
to kind of push the entire thing forward in a way, because the movie is a good reference because
Yeah.
that is what people who are good at envisioning cool looking stuff that will get people's attention. That's their idea of what this should look like.
Yep.
So if we use that as a point of reference, then we can kind of, you what I mean? We can kind of like get that idea, like, okay, this is how it should flow because this is the most idealized version of it, if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, well, I never read the book. I just watched the movie. But yeah, like it talked about like
I
how,
just watched the movie. I have not read the book.
yeah, like it has like when I watched the movie, like it has definitely a lot of references. It has like the avatars. You know, literally see like Tracer and shit running around. All that stuff. You see the portal stuff, inventory system, you know. Like, we don't have an
Oh, yeah,
inventory
yeah.
system technically in VRChat. We have menus. You have to add it up on a specific avatar. I have pitched
we
the
need one.
idea of, like, having a prop system, which is, like, a separate upload. So avatar world and then a prop, which is a thing in
Yeah.
chill VR. Just saying, VRChat, you know, if you're going to take the world preloading thing, you know, you got to take everything, man. Just say you're inspired and just put your name on it, you know, easy clap, you know, copy the notes, you know. So I think once we get
copy
like,
everything.
yeah, just copy everything. Let's be real. But like, when they get the props, I think that would be a huge bonus because there's so many times where I go to a horror map and I'm like, fuck, I can't see shit. And then I had to like switch
Yeah,
to
you don't
like
have
an
a
avatar.
flashlight.
Yeah, I had to switch to an avatar, or I drop my flashlight. Oh shit! It'd be so convenient if I could just have, even if I was only limited to like you could only spawn like one prop at a time. I think that's fair, and sure there would be probably limitations. You know, you can't have 10 million polygons. I'm like, haha, I'm gonna crash this instance with this cube. You know.
Yeah, that's a problem right now in Chill Out. So props are an interesting one. We haven't solved any of it yet because we haven't really put it to the absolute test yet. Chill Out's the forefront right now when it comes to that, but you might say that Neos would be the forefront, but I can't safely say that because Neos is not supposed. This is a weird one, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I've been told this numerous times. Yeah, here
Gasp.
we go. Neos is not supposed to be a social VR platform. It's supposed to be a development platform. Now, I hear that every once in a while, but when it's said in the terms of Neos, it's like, we can only have so many people in the lobby. If Fruxius, if you're watching this, please, with the new project Yellow Dog, make it so that we can get 80 to 100 people, and you know what I mean, because that's really important. Be a social VR platform and a development platform at the same time, because that's what Ready Player One is, and that's what we should be striving for. But like, they have props, but they're not easily managed. And if we actually take things seriously, like I take things very seriously in VRChat in terms of like managing events. If we had props, I literally have to resort to just disabling props altogether because we can't have that. So we need like a props whitelisting system or something along those lines. I mean, I think Marm has talked about wanting to do something along those lines on Chill Out VR. I know that there's been a lot of suggestions and stuff on that front, but we haven't figured out the props thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
What's acceptable props that you're allowed to bring out during an event? Like, can somebody spawn another video player in the middle of a DJ event? They can do that. They can do that in Chill Out VR. Just a whole ass another video player just pops right in. It's playing another video, so more music or something on top of the DJ. Like we basically, both Voy and I. So Voy runs Vivid Club, which is the largest establishment in Chill Out VR right now, and Voy just for now just has props disabled.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with them because I have a venue in Chill Out VR now, Club Zinx. Where I don't have one, but I've helped manage facilitating the existence of Zinx in both.
Yeah.
Facilitating. On Chill Out VR as well, and my take was to avoid using props because we still haven't figured that one out yet. So we have a lot of stuff we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not super bad that VRChat doesn't have it, but if VRChat were to implement them, they would be forced to figure it out because we actually have enough players saturating the content that we would have to like find ways where, is there another filtering system? It's a whole nother beast, but it's also another potentially massive market where people could be making money off of, making livings off of just building
Yeah.
props. You
I
know what I mean?
think
It's not so you have avatars, you have props.
I think they could just piggyback off of their existing systems. So this is just me speaking out loud here, but for example, avatar scaling is a world permission, so you can turn on and off and set to what you want to. So you could put that as a prop world permission. You don't want any props? No props allowed in this world. This doesn't work. You can't scale your avatar. Not allowed. It could be something like a world permission where it's case by case, depending on the world creator wants to enable it or not. Or it could be with the ranking system, which everyone cringes and goes, ew. But, in that system, if I only want to have my friends use props and see them, then I could do that. So you could just go up to somebody and say, I don't want to see your fucking props. Click on them, disable props.
And
then
you just disable the props.
I don't see that.
Yeah,
shit.
you can do it on a...
Yeah.
The only thing about that is that it's a UX nightmare, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's figuring things out in terms of a technical side of things, but there's figuring it out in terms of the UX side of things, and the UX side of things ain't an easy one, because the more complexity you induce to the game, the harder it's going to be for the average person to pick up and understand what's going on, right? We don't want the main menu of the game to feel like an air traffic control night, like
that's what it feels like now.
Button switches and buttons everywhere. Well, it's especially bad in Chill Out right now, right? Because Chill Out does have the problem. They have a whole entire list of things that you can actually scroll through when it comes to just props. And like the average person, it ain't gonna do that. The average person can't even read the warning message at the front of the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, they join a club, they can't even read that. Like we need like a nice picture, and you click it and it's already solved. But we haven't really done it yet. Now I'm building a prop system in Oasis 2.0, so there's going to be a full-blown prop system, right?
Yeah.
And so we can use this as an example. I think we talked about this yesterday for a little bit, but basically I have full control over the way the prop system and inventory system works. So this is a completely fundamental change to how the Oasis works, right? Oasis 2.0 is going to be a system where, for example, there will be examples where if somebody has a Patreon of their own, they can modify a text file and put in lists of names to whitelist people who will be able to obtain the ability to spawn one of Rebel's coffee mugs in the Oasis. Right?
Yeah.
And that being a kind of a system like that, like I want to have a system where it's sort of like an interconnected network where we can check against some things and then see what inventory items you have, and then you'd be like, Rebel's coffee mug, and like that just happens organically if they support you, and that's not even necessarily related to anything that I'm doing. Like all I'm doing is I'm just facilitating. I'm a facilitator, in the broadest term, as Mega World owner and everything like that. What I want to do is I want to provide a platform for people on top of the platform that already exists. And that means that in the Oasis 2.0, we'll have props, but I have full control over these props. So maybe we can't spawn them past a certain point, or there's limitations, not necessarily arbitrary, but like logical limitations that I can impose. Maybe certain things can only be allowed for certain types of events and stuff like that. So that is something that I do want to do exploration on myself.
Gotcha.
But I can do it in a way that's logical, and maybe it can help us kind of figure out how to move forward on that whole front. I don't know. Maybe we'll come up with an idea that's like super easy. It's really about brain power and just thinking about how to solve things in a really elegant way, right? But the elegant solution is not always clear. Like there's usually a really elegant one where it's just like after somebody does it, it becomes the standard, and then like moving forward, everybody kind of just does it that way from now on. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Typically, like, when you get a large community of people, usually people sort of come up with ideas and solutions. I mean, like think about it. Like somebody's idea years ago to have, accessibility in the game for the deaf, or to have a scaling system, or to messaging system, or whatever. Like everything that's, was a thing at some point was somebody's, crazy idea. I mean, I even had ideas that are now implemented into the game. I told this before, but like when I started playing VR chat, emotes did not loop. That was not a thing. When you press dance, it did, or do a backflip, it did it one time. That
Just
was
does
it.
it once.
Yep, that was it. So I made a canny post like 5 years ago, and I was just like, I called it action emotes. Basically, I said like you should be able to loop an emoji or loop an emote, and then because like I wanted to be able to like go AFK or something, and then like my character falls asleep. Kind of, I basically was talking about like World of Warcraft. I was like, in World of Warcraft, I press /dance, my character does this forever until
just
I
keeps
move.
going.
And
Yep.
that's what I suggested, and eventually the devs saw that and literally said planned, and then eventually became a thing. And I was like, that was my idea, so it happens.
So that had a huge effect. That had a huge effect. It might seem like a small thing, but that ended up having like a huge effect because I've seen so many times somebody's in desktop and they just repeat an animation
Yeah.
on the dance floor of their character just dancing, and it looks great. It's like there it is, and
Yeah.
I've seen it used so many times.
So tip in my chat is like, what did I just say? So to repeat what I just said was, I had an idea called action emotes. You can look on the VR chat canny, and basically before back in the day when you press dance or backflip, you can only do it one time. You had to keep pressing the button. My suggestion was you press it one time and it loops forever or until you want to undo it or whatever. And you could also move while doing the emote because now you can dance and then glide across the floor like Michael Jackson or whatever. So like that wasn't a thing before. But if you moved, it canceled the emote. That's how it used to be 5-6 years ago. It was my suggestion, maybe other people's ideas as well, obviously, but it was their idea to be able to do this dance emoji across the screen whenever you want to. So that was my suggestion, and now it's a feature in the game. So yeah. Anyway. So here's a big question, obviously. So tell me about your World of VRU Oasis. How'd you come up with the idea for that? Like, what's the whole story behind? Because obviously you started the Zombie Doll Lounge, and then it ended up being this massive world, the Oasis of like how many clubs is in it now, and like projects.
Yeah. There's. Sometimes I remember saying that there's 40 plus.
Okay.
Because at the moment some of it's being put on hold because of Oasis 2.0 development. But it's 40 plus locations, but a good chunk of those are private residencies.
Okay.
And so we're looking at 13 to 16 actual venues that are utilized by different communities. In some cases, we call them core communities. The idea of the Oasis is that it's a central hub where it's a central hub for many communities at once. And that what it does is that rather than I take a commission up front, so somebody pays me money directly to build a world for them, what I do is I build a big world with lots of different locations, and then I either work for basically for free. Sometimes I actually pay money for the development of somebody else's club so that I can have their club in the Oasis. And then I generate an income by making the Oasis monetized by selling like either advertising, well, eventually props. So props are going to be a really huge part of this, and private residencies like apartments and things like that. So I switched the strategy kind of on its side a little bit from what you normally see people do is they'll take a straight commission and then that'll be a done project and then you hand it off.
Yep.
But what I have now is like an amalgamation of like all these different things going on at once, and rather than taking the commission money up front, I get money for just managing the entire world. And there's a lot of advantages. There's some disadvantages. An Oasis type world requires more system RAM than a standalone world. But if done correctly, and if I manage to get the performance issues down in Oasis 2.0, which I have planned out because I've learned a lot about what I've been doing, there's really not that many downsides. There's only upsides. The only downside is that it's hard to do, which is fine by me because I don't, whatever, I can just do it. But
You have a big brain.
Yeah, that's really yeah. Hopefully,
I mean,
I can't say that too much because I made some really stupid mistakes.
that's okay,
I
man.
messed up so many times.
You know, it's okay. I mean, I don't know anyone else
Yeah.
that does what you do with the Oasis. Like you said, most people they make a world, and that's basically it. Yours is like 50 worlds in one, essentially. Again, it kind of reminds because I never
Yeah.
played Second Life, but when I watch people stream it or make YouTube videos, it's called a sim, and then it's basically like it can be anything. It could be just a club, or it could be 50 houses in one sim, and then people pay rent. And I always thought that was interesting, and I'm like, huh. And then when I looked at the Oasis, I'm like, that's basically what I saw.
Yeah,
in a
a
way.
lot of the stuff that I'm doing, isn't new. It's just new in this particular space.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so like, I like the idea of the way I'm doing things because there's a network effect. And when it comes to social media, network effect is the absolute most important thing. Why do people refuse to leave certain social networks? Because it has more people? Because the network effect. Increasing network effect is a really good example of like why it matters to have advertising in the world. The Oasis pulls in around 10,000 visits a month.
Damn.
Something like that. It's 8 to 10,000 visits a month. I mean, that's pretty considerable considering, I mean, it's essentially 7 days a week. I mean, the city never really sleeps. We have events going on all the time. Now we're expanding out to Chill Out VR as well. So, like, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought though.
No, that's fine. I was just making a comparison between Second Life and the Oasis, and how you have a unique idea of having multiple projects. Like you said, you wanted to basically manage a world, and then have people, and then build systems inside of that, and then be able to run multiple clubs or residences and stuff like that. And it goes into the Oasis 2.0, which is going to be able to essentially, I mean, we can talk about it, but you showed me like an early build of it, where essentially you could build your own
You build it
apartment.
inside of the
Yeah,
game.
you like basically how it works, guys, is it's almost like, how do I put this in perspective so like an average person can understand? It's almost like I'm building in Unity, or if you want to go dumb down even further, like Gmod. I just spawn like a wall and I can place it there. I spawn a chair, I place it there. And then how it works is you can then save a state, and then I can save what I've done and come back 6 months later and it's still there. It's like a save code.
It's still there.
So
Yep, and everybody sees it too.
yeah, instead of like working in Unity and being like, oh yeah, castle, put the chair there and put the table there and put the painting there. And instead of that, I just build it myself.
you can do it yourself.
I just do it myself
Yep.
in VR.
So that's an important component of the entire thing. And I haven't really gone public with too many of the things that I'm currently setting up. I guess at this point I have mentioned in the past a lot of stuff that I'm doing, but I haven't really gone into exact details. But one of the reasons why the Oasis 2.0 can be 4 times the size of Oasis 1.0 is that a lot of it doesn't exist. Most of it is just on text files that are being loaded externally. And
Ooh.
because of the way those text files are parsed, a lot of the locations, apartments, private residencies, and stuff like that simply blink into existence based on that information on the external file.
Yep.
So that you can have a hell of a lot of them. So like you don't necessarily, so you have 200 apartments instead of the 20 that I have right now, which are like bursting at the seams in terms of resources. Well, 200 of them, or maybe even 2,000 of them, could work this way, where not only do I not have to micromanage, placing the table, the chair, and everything like that, because the player now has the ability to do it themselves, but those objects don't exist in the world itself. They're instantiated or moved, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In various different ways. So they come into being when you actually walk into the front door, and then now this is your space. So we can have a hell of a lot more of them now. And they take up way less resources.
Well, absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, I could potentially seeing that in the future, instead of like buying a pre-built house and then be like, oh, I gotta go to Unity and change out the painting or whatever I need to do. I can just load it up and change it whenever I feel like it, you know, and then I just save it and log
Yeah.
out and log back in. Oh, I want to move this over here, so I don't have to,
Yep.
you know, you just do it yourself at that point, and you know,
Yep.
you know, change it. You know, oh, seasonal change. You got to add a Christmas tree now or whatever you want.
Yeah.
As long as the people had the resources, you would have to, you know, have all those
Yeah.
props and stuff loaded in.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that's structured is a fundamentally different take on everything, in terms of what I've done before. You know, pretty much a good deal of the resources and information and everything like that that's being pulled in is coming from external sources now, instead of just being inside of the world itself, which means that the Oasis 2.0 can be far, far, far larger and more expansive in terms of scope and size, just in general,
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you have one world that can be a million worlds, essentially. You know, that's the
Yeah.
idea here. I mean, shit. Like, I don't have to make a house. I could just make this talk show set instead, and be like, here you go.
Yeah, I think that over time, as I begin developing the in-game world editor and everything like that, and continue going further with that sort of system, you know, the complexity of it will increase, and to a point where it is basically like Neos, except, you know, rather than just having to click save like you do in Neos, you would just grab a a text file from a thingy and then paste it onto a paste bin or a GitHub,
Yeah.
and all that information is now contained there, and then it only loads that information when it absolutely needs to. So I have to build. So I've had to literally gut the entirety of the first Oasis
Yep.
with this new system. You know, there's going to be places that are hybrid, you know, static lighting with full SH and LTCGI and all that crazy stuff, and then there's going to be locations that are fundamentally structured while you walk into them, while you explore them. They won't exist until you come to them, which means that they won't have any impact on performance, because they simply don't exist until you get there.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could always make different packages a part of like a Patreon where like, hey, you know, if you only want to, I don't know, a 10 by 10 house, then that's this amount of money. You want to have like a big ass like 50 by 50, then that's going to cost you more. Like that's where, you know.
Yep. So check this out. I've already gone on all of it. So all
Okay.
of the different Patreon tiers, so when it comes to objects that you can place in the world, right?
Yeah.
They're limited by a number, right? And the more, like, the larger apartments, or the larger, more advanced ones, have more slots. So you have slots. So you have, let's say, like a large, like really high quality apartment has 200 slots, but like a one bedroom simple apartment would only have 50 slots, right?
I hear what you're
And
saying.
like, so yeah, you can build more. So there'll be ones that are just, you know, you have like 500 slots and it's just a box, and you can build literally anything you want, and that'll be like its own kind of a thing. So like there's all kinds of ways that I can kind of structure this in terms of like how I want to see like what people, you know, what the limitations are based on how much is, you know, people want to contribute. And they'll have access to in-game scripting, they'll have access to the ability to make their own DJ venues, like it'll and it could all just structure around that. The potential for this is immense. But that's basically where I'm going with this right now. So, and also the inventory system, the prop system by itself is by, you know, that obviously I've already started beginnings of structuring around, like, there's different packages that you get when you have different Patreon tiers. So now you have the ability to spawn certain items, like you can spawn glow sticks at a nightclub, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
And there's actually tons and tons of examples of custom items that only you have, that you can pay for that are like things that are unique to you, and then you can share with other people or spawn them in the world, and they have like some kind of an effect on the world. One of the funny ones. Okay, so one of the funny ones is, you know how all these club worlds have like drugs?
Yep.
Well, the inventory system. Yeah, so you can actually have like a role play thing where, like, you know, you head out in the castle and you go into the bathroom and you just sort of hang out there and it's like, hey man, psst, psst, you want some drugs? You know?
Yeah, bro. I got this. I got this special doobie here, man. I got this sparkle dust, bro.
Yeah. But that's something that'll happen because of the inventory system, because you can, you know, that's something that he managed to get or set up, and then you know, so there'll be these opportunities where people are, you know, they have these like crazy screen space shaders because there's a person selling drugs or you know, selling, you know, drugs in the bathroom. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I get you.
You know.
Before we continue, we'll take
Or
a
if
quick
you really-
quick break here, halftime little Twitch break here for the ad stuff. So give me a second here to get that going, and then we'll resume. Yeah, put this video in. Boom, boom. Do. Alright, put the camera back on me. Please and thank you. Awesome. So the first ad was by Gray. You can check them out. Smallgray.gumroad.com. And the second one was by Gunblader123. They stream on Twitch. Go check out their stuff. They do WrestleMania. Oh, very cool stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for the support on the Patreon. Appreciate everybody. It does support what I do here in the interviews and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll resume here. So there were some comments in the chat. They were talking about, isn't this part of like the virtual economy? Not really, I don't think, because from what I understand from the virtual economy, it's mostly just like a tipping system. It's like, hey, you know, you're pretty cool, Castle. Here's 500 V-Bucks, and then whatever that is, I can equate that to.
Okay, I got a lot to say on that one.
Go ahead.
It sounds innocuous. Don't fall for that. It's not. When I say innocuous, okay, so what's outlined, but I don't know 100% exactly how they're going to do it, but depending on how the devs do this, can have really, really big rippling effects on the entirety of the space, or it can end up, or it can, you know, of course, obviously, it can flop. But I have a feeling from what they're currently talking about right now, they're saying, okay, you can have self-assigned roles, but you have to pay money to get that role, right?
Yeah.
Okay. By itself, that doesn't really sound like a whole lot, right? Okay, when you combine with the fact that you can use Udon, so maybe hooks into the VRC player API. Okay. Now, we've just gone completely warp speed. If they allow us to check to see if someone has a role with any group in the entire game, So if we can just, we type like VRC player API, get group role, and if we can check to see what group role they have, and then build logic based on that on an if statement or whatever. Whoa, we're not even playing the same game anymore. It sounds like it was kind of weird, interesting too, because there was this whole thing on Twitter, where Tupper was almost making it sound boring. He's like, "Oh no, yeah, we're not going to include avatars or anything. It's just like a tip jar or something." And I'm thinking to myself,
Downplaying.
"Oh
it,
no,
bro.
it's not." Yeah, that was like downplay skill. Overlord.
Bro, he rolled
So,
the one. He rolled a nat 1 on his Baldur's Gate 3. Personality dexterity check right there, bro. Intimidation.
So think about how much power that gives if we're not just using, because external strings being able to do the whole like coffee cup. Okay, so let's use the coffee cup thing. You remember what I said about like being able to determine? Okay, well now, if I'm just checking a group role, I don't have a 5-second delay for every single time I check every single one of these things. I can check on the fly. Do you have the coffee mug item?
Yeah.
Is somebody paying you $5 a month for the coffee mug item that they can now spawn with the inventory system in the Oasis?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. Well, just think about how that extrapolates out into God knows what else. Like, all right, that right there is a fundamental rubric of like insanity. Like, it's not even going to be the same game. But it's kind of being downplayed because I guess people don't want to get too excited about it. But when I look at what it comprises the system, it's obvious to me that this is a lot more than just, a tip jar. Now,
Yeah. So
hey, man. Yeah.
To give an example to understand it from my point of view here is so what you're trying to say is like, let's say, so everyone's on the same page here. Let's say I'm playing Murder 4, right? And I'm like made by Jar, and I'm like, cool, this is Murder 4. How it works right now is you would have to go to Jar's Patreon and pay whatever it is, $10 or whatever, and you get the golden gun, or maybe you get double points, whatever. And it's just a whitelist system, so Jar would have to add, go into the world or go to a pay spin and add your name to it. That's how it currently works.
Yeah.
So, that's how it currently is. Now with the virtual economy, if it works like this, where you see like literally a button on the wall and it says, "Hey, you want this golden gun? Pay now." Okay, and I just get it. I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, here, click this. So like, and it pops up the menu, and you could just be like, buy golden gun. Well, I'm drunk as I want to get revenge on my friend. He just murdered me 4 times, and you get the golden gun. Oh my god, that is velocity. That is insane. That is not close to. So, the fact that it's all happening in real time, that's the difference between going to my Patreon and renting an apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or walking up to the front door, opening the door, clicking the rent apartment. It now becomes your permanent spawn point, real time, and then you could choose who your roommates are in real time. You know what I mean? Based on your like group roles or whatever, and like just have that whole thing just be basically automated without having to talk to me at all.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Now that's the difference between 200 apartments in the world to 2,000. I could easily do 2,000 at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't have to do anything. It's completely automated. So what are we dealing with at that point, right? So like,
yeah. Or it's the other example. The other example of, if you don't want to think of like the Jar in the Murder 4 world, it could be like what you just said. Let's say, for the sake of example, Just Be, so everyone understands, because that's a popular world, right? Let's say I went to Just Be, and again, I want to go in the VIP room. Oh, you got to pay $10 on the Patreon for that, and I'm like, fuck, man. But instead, I could just click it, purchase now. I'm in the VIP room now. Sick, bro.
Yep. And it's that easy.
Yeah, it could be.
At worst, requires a rejoin the world.
Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. That's insanely better. That's like massively better. And also too, I mean, the VR chat devs would actually be making money off of it. Now, there's some things to be said about like, well, avatars aren't going to be really included. I don't agree necessarily that they won't be, because being able to check group roles is also something that we can do to check against the name of somebody. So like if I see somebody rocking that new Godfall avatar, right?
Oh,
and I'm like,
absolutely.
kind of sussing on them a little bit. You know what I mean? We try to make sure that people don't pirate avatars in the Oasis and stuff like that, because it's
Yeah,
it's bad.
of
So
course.
like I don't quite believe this person actually owns a Godfall avatar. Well, I can just check group roles. So I pop open this crazy menu that I can just set up, and I will be doing this, and I will be able to be like, is your name on the list? And no, you're not on the list. Uh-ohs.
You stole
Uh-ohs.
that.
Where did you get
bastard?
Yeah, where did you get that avatar?
I cloned it,
How did
bro.
did your friend give it to you? Who gave it to you? Know what I mean? And it immediately just kind of goes down on a thing. So, yeah, like that's actually probably going to be a thing that you should probably prepare yourselves for in the future. It won't just be me doing that, but like I'm guaranteeing you that's going to be a thing that people do in general, because it's so straightforward. You know, like, hey, we can just check at any time. I can make a menu. I can check to see like, hey, look at a big list of all the avatar creators that are like currently supported by the community in this particular space. Go through them and be like, hey, does this person have one of these? Uh-oh, they don't. Oh, yeah, they got this
Yeah.
one. They got this one. Well, it looks like just this one. You know what I mean? It's like, where did you get that avatar from? Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean I've heard of people talking about, suppose this is not confirmed, it's just a hypothetical, but some people talked about like, oh, what if you had like a purchase list? So every time I buy an avatar, instead of going to public or private, it just goes to purchase, and it checks your ID or whatever. And if you don't have that ID, then you can't have that avatar. It just doesn't let you clone it, doesn't let you take it, it doesn't let you wear it. If you don't have it, that means you never paid for it. So
Now it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to do it in terms of like actually affecting functionality. However, in a social VR environment, social capital has a really big impact on what goes on. So if somebody is unable to explain where they got their avatar after you just asked them and their name's not on the list, and it's not a mistake, then they may end up losing social capital. They could, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you don't really need to do a thing where they can get banned just for not following the rules. In the same way that somebody can just for saying bad words or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, try to be careful about these kinds of situations. If we get the creator economy, yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff, because right now I can safely tell you that a lot of avatar creators, they go through a lot to make sure that they can verify whether or not someone has actually purchased it, and they go through some pretty extensive things. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of traps that you can fall into, and they can catch you. Well, this is just imagine what they do when they have this. So, and of course I'm going to support them. So, you know what I mean?
I get
Yeah,
you.
like,
Yeah, usually I
Yeah.
see on a lot of Gumroad people, they'll like ask for your Discord, and then like they'll double check, be like, well, this person's not in my Discord. That means they never purchased the avatar in Gumroad. Otherwise, they would have checked that form, because it's required to enter your Discord when purchasing a Gumroad avatar sometimes.
yeah. So there's already a bunch of stuff, but with this, it can literally just be click their name, all right, and click the Godfall button. Oh, do they have Godfall? Do they have a Dottie? This is
Yep.
definitely a Dottie base, but you're not on the Dottie list. Why don't you have that? You know what I mean? And then we can
Yeah.
we can grill them. We can be like, hey, what are you doing with this avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you start in
So,
the interrogation roll. You roll nat 20.
Yeah.
You start bluffing. What do you mean,
Yeah.
dude? This is not even my account, bro. I'm just borrowing it,
Yeah, it's not even my account yet.
dude. Dude, it's my brother's account, bro.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'll make it so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the creator economy will impact that stuff, I think. I mean, at least as far as I can tell, provided they allow us to check all group roles, not just the particular group. Like, we're in a group lobby right now.
Yeah.
And if we can only check the roles of this one group lobby, then all this goes out the window and everything I said is totally null, and we're just going to keep doing what we already do. However, if they allow me to check, if they allow me to be able to just go like this group, this role, check, you know what I mean? Like, and just go down like a list, and then we don't have a 5-second delay on that. Oh, we're golden. Like, the sky's the limit. You know what I mean?
I
Anything's
getcha.
possible at that point.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. We'll see like how it all works. Like I said, it's all up in the air. We don't know until we see that update in the
Yeah.
dev blog, and they're like, "Hey guys, new update here. This is the creator economy." And I'm like, "Oh, sick, bro," because like I don't know what's gonna happen until it happens. You know, I hope it goes well. If it doesn't, it's back to the Patreon gamers, back to the whitelist. You know,
Yeah.
So there's always a fallback. You know, and if it's too much, like if they're being like, "Oh, you have to give us 80% of your money," I'm like, no thanks. I'm gonna use Patreon, dog. I'm gonna use Ko-fi. Lol.
Yeah, they're gonna have to navigate a lot of stuff properly. But the thing is, though, is that I prefer, since I'm using their platform, to work with whatever they give me.
Yeah.
And this kind of leads into another aspect of this too. We really, really, really need competition in this space, especially now that we're having these kinds of conversations. We really, really do. And it's not just if you love social VR as a medium, we do need this. You know what I mean? If they decide to take 80% cut, I mean, it's their
I doubt it,
platform. They can do that. Yeah, they won't do that though. But like, yeah.
Whoa, boo!
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna do something like that, and I think that they're probably going to, to make good decisions with it. God, I hope so. But like, at the same time, if they did, like, what are we gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? We need competition in this space.
Of
There
course.
needs to be somebody holding them to. There has to be like options. You know what I mean? Chill Out VR right now is one of the only ones, but there are others. I'm noticing a lot of other VR platforms
Yeah.
that are kind of coming up. One of them is like surprisingly far along, but doesn't have a lot of recognition as Massive Loop. But I don't know much about it yet. So there's one there. I don't know. There's a lot of potential. But chill out right now is the most likely one. But we don't even know what they're gonna do in terms of like their creator economy and stuff like that. But whatever they do, it'll probably be in direct competition with whatever VRChat does. And you give us scripting, and we can do an awful lot with whatever we're given. Depending on how Chill Out decides to implement their scripting, can have a massive effect, a massive knock-on effect in terms of what's capable of being done. But I really hope that the VRChat devs get the creator economy correct on the first try, because it can have absolutely huge effects on how all of this actually works.
Here's a question for you.
And,
So obviously there are other social platforms besides VRChat, like Neos and Chill and Helios and Lavender and whatever Metaverse Horizons is or whatever. What do you think makes or helps one of these communities or platforms grow? Like what's the defining thing? Like, yes, that's why that game is popping off and has 50,000 creators. Is there like an idea or a concept that has to like flourish to happen? Like, because people are always like, oh, Chill is going to pop off. Oh, Neos is going to pop off. And it does get a little bump, but then falls off. So, like, what is something that has to happen that would cause these platforms to pop off and grow?
Seeing somebody else being successful on one of those platforms would probably be one of the biggest ones to cause, because people aren't willing to take risks by themselves. But if you have somebody who steamrolls onto that front and ends up doing something and being successful on that and being one of the first, they will be the one that kind of paves the way, and then people will follow. But you have to have a considerable amount of success on that front in order for that to actually occur. Honestly, most of the time people are just interested in the sheer network effect that you gain from being in the bigger platform. Which does make sense, but we're a lot more limited, you know what I mean, in terms of VRChat. It's a little strange. There's a sort of cognitive, I guess cognitive dissonance. So 70,000 players does not mean 70,000 players are showing to your DJ event.
Yeah.
Your outreach, your personal outreach and your community size itself and the number of people that you have that are watching and following you and going to your event, how many people you have in your lobby is really the determining factor how many people are going to show up in your lobby. It's not the 70,000. The 70,000 might raise the chance a little, but we've been doing this long enough now where we kind of noticed this, it's the same 300, to 2,000 people for the most part showing up over and over again. And the size of the virtual reality platform doesn't seem to have as much of an impact as the size of your own outreach in general, because I've seen plenty of people who have really amazing things, and they're on VR chat, and they are there's like a lobby of 15 to 30 people, and that's one of their that's one of their debut events or something like that, and that happens sometimes. And it's like, just because you're on VR chat isn't the magic formula for having the most people show up. Sometimes it's just boils down to your personal outreach. So you can get 100 people to show up to an event and chill out VR. We've done it in the past, but you have to have the people with the outreach in order to pull that off. So it really comes down to the people who are running the show and how successful they are to generate enough eyes watching them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
sorry.
that's really it.
Yeah, sorry, Fluffy said, like, we can meet people in VR chat. What the fuck? Yeah, you can meet people in VR chat. You're right. I love meeting people in VR. I think what I was trying to allude to is, like, I feel like a game's success can sometimes just be luck-based. It can be based off of if a streamer plays it. I can give two examples off the top of my head. VR chat, when I first played it, had under 1,000 players back in December, even less than that. And because Poke was playing it and streaming it and was popping off on the internet, the game went from 1,000 to 20,000 in less than a month. And then every big streamer wanted to play it, and then you got a Knuckles happened, and everything kind of just snowballed from there. A better example of this would be even further beyond, like 10 years ago. So Lyric is like an OG of Twitch. He's been there for like 10, 15 years or whatever. And he, you could arguably say, started the Battle Royale category for all of Twitch and all those games. PUBG, H1Z1, Call of Duty, Warzone, all those games. He was the one that was streaming it 10 years ago, playing Arma 2 Battle Royale mod, which is just a mod. It was just some guys like, what if like 50 people were like no guns, and then they had to like run around the map, and then they find a gun, and then the space shrinks. And that was just a mod someone made like a decade ago. And now every other game has a Battle Royale because of one guy 10 years ago made that. It's the same thing I said at the very beginning of the interview with like the guy, the people who made Doom, and now, in this case, Arma 2 Battle Royale is the Doom, and then everyone sees that, and then you see the big streamer stream it, and it gets a lot of publicity and views, and then every game company's like, wait, people like that? Then I'll make my game have it too, and there you go.
Yeah, come to think about it, so when I worked at Unknown Worlds, there was a little bit of a window of time where I noticed that one of the biggest reasons why Unknown Worlds Subnautica got a lot of attention was because Markiplier.
Yep.
I remember that being a pretty big thing. Like, Markiplier picked the game up, and at that point it was just like, GG, yo, we got it, popularity just explodes. Like,
yep. Hey, you're right. It's just how it is. Like, I don't think like FNAF, like Five Nights at Freddy's, would be popular if it wasn't for Markiplier, PewDiePie, and all those YouTubers playing it. You could say that for like a large portion of games. Like, streamers have a big influence over
absolutely
over an impact on a game or a genre. Like, it's crazy to think about. Now, obviously there are sometimes big streamer plays a game and the game dies a week later. That happens too. But like, I'm starting to think like maybe talking about this, maybe the VR chat devs should or other platforms should get more in touch with streamers and content creators, because if they, if I can make an
Mm-hmm.
influence, or a bigger streamer can make an influence and make a platform pop off. Like, imagine in a hypothetical situation, right? Let's say you get like a bunch of VR chat people, right? Streamers. And hypothetically, they're like, oh, we'll give you X amount of money or X amount of whatever the fuck, and you can only stream on Chill Out VR. Like, that might be a huge pull to convince people to go over there. Or
That'd be crazy.
an example is, with other things like streaming platforms, like XQC was given $100 million to stream on Kick. It convinces people, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I should stream on Kick too. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah. I think it's the personal outreach thing. I kind of allude to it a little bit, but in terms of streamers specifically, somebody, a YouTuber or a streamer who has a lot of outreach, who actually did an interview with Azil. And Azil's interview ended up drawing a lot of attention to the Oasis. We ended up having, an extra 20 to 30 people showing up to all of our events, like across
Damn.
the board for a while. And I met a lot of new people who are completely new to VR chat and stream, just social VR in general after that interview with Azil. Yeah, that was a really big one, honestly. That was crazy. So I mean, I remember seeing a lot of growth just from that, especially during the hotter, months during the summer. I usually time everything around the fact that, like, this is the time to be building infrastructure, because the colder weather, people can put the toaster on their face and
Yep.
it's less uncomfortable. So like during the summer, it's kind of like this downturn where you have like generally lower numbers and lower, and then you build up, and then as soon as like fall comes in and you start getting into building up towards like Christmas and New Year's, like you get the biggest numbers in virtual reality. We still ended up getting a lot of traffic just because of that one interview. It was interesting. Met a lot of cool new people too.
Yeah, I mean, I could say that about my own talk show. Like, I interviewed Ray is Deaf, who was part of the deaf community, the ASL community, and Helping Hands specifically. And I didn't know the impact of that until like a year later, because like I interviewed a deaf person, so I had a translator, doing ASL to translate everything I was saying. And when I did the interview, the person told me like 6 months, a year later, how like hundreds and hundreds of deaf people were watching that interview live in VR chat. Like, they were literally sitting on a couch with the video player on, and people were tweeting at me, and I didn't know the impact of that until like way later, and I was like, what the hell? So like,
Yeah.
and people were like, that's
Yeah,
really cool you
sure.
did that. Like, I was just like, I just wanted to interview Ray because he's my friend. I didn't know that
Yeah.
it's gonna have this bigger change on the outlook of things. So
Yeah. You never really know how much it is going to affect things.
mhm.
That is true. Sometimes just having a big event and stuff like that. A lot of people who I talk to in Chill Out VR right now met and began playing just because of that first push that I made to Chill Out VR in the first place. And now there's a reasonably sized, like one lobby sized community that hangs out in Chill Out VR. Now we run 7 days a week Chill Out VR events now. But like a lot of those people refer to those days as the time when they first were introduced to the game and began playing it, and now only exist over there. They don't all come over here and VR chat.
Yeah,
A lot of them just play Chill Out.
exactly.
It's interesting.
What do you think about the events I've run here besides interviews? Like, you were here physically for a couple of the Avatar showcases.
Oh, the fashions.
Yeah, the fashion shows. Yeah.
Yes. The fashion shows are great. That is so cool. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think that stuff like that is so important. So it has compounding effects. Like, people see a cool avatar, that avatar creator is more successful, the avatar creator works harder and makes cooler and bigger things, and then the space grows as a result of that sort of collaborative mindset. And I think that that is like a core component of exactly how we can continue to grow things and figure out how the space actually works, and and understand how it affects everyone in it. You know what I mean? So it's like I feel definitely I feel definitely like avatar showcases and anything that we can do like that is really important. And I think that what you do is really good. It's amazing.
Yeah, because of my showcases, I basically collected gathered 60 avatar creators to meet up and then have one focal platform to then showcase their stuff. And what ended up happening was some of these creators actually partnered up, and they all met because of my platform, and now they work together and they made like a whole list of like avatars and collabs because of my platform.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you like. I'm surprised like no one else was, doing these things. Obviously, before I did my show, we had the show with Heather back in the day, and I got some experience
Yep.
out of that. And I was just like, what if I did it here, And it took me a year later, but here we are, running 4 events, maybe a 5th one in October, depends if I'm moving or not. But,
It's a crazy thing. Yeah, that first fashion show that we did, like, oh my God, what an experience that was. And like, oh man, like during the show, I think I actually recorded the whole thing, and I just watched it. I watched it, and I was just like, oh, woof, while it was happening, like we were like, it was so up in the air, and there was so many things that needed to get solved right then and there. And Watermelon Justice was like absolutely amazing at talking to all the avatar creators and everything like that. I remember that was just so good. An amazing announcer. And like, man, good. I'm just reminiscing at this point. Don't mind me.
okay.
Well, it was a really important thing, and then to see it continue to grow. We weren't able to continue doing those events more often because the community that I was collaborating with was having different other issues socially at that time, and we weren't really able to keep going with it. It was like we would kind of get up, but it would sort of fizzle, and it takes a lot of resources and planning, and also too, I'm spread really thin, like just running the Oasis, that so I can't be the one who's always helming that kind of a endeavor. So, but it was really good to see that you took the torch on that. I'm really glad that you did.
Oh, absolutely. I had a dream. I ran showcases before the one with Heather in the lounge. I did like 3 years ago, but it was like dumbed down version of it. And then I was just like, I need to have a proper set to do this. I want to like expand upon it, and that's what I ended up doing was, taking something to take a step back and like really organize, because that's what I'm always keen or good at is like planning, strategizing, organizing. Like I can't just be like, yep, we're gonna do a showcase today, guys. We'll go to fucking, I don't know, fucking Just Be and do some shit. Like, I have to like really sit down and really like focus and rehearse, and like then people are like, holy shit, that was a cool event. I'm like, yeah, you don't know the half of it, bro. I'm fucking stressed out, like fucking going bald over here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no kidding, man. Oh, that's a vibe. I know exactly how that felt or feels.
oh
But
yeah.
it's worth it in the end. After it's over, everyone thinks it was super easy. And you can just kind of say, yeah,
Yeah, it was
maybe it wasn't
easy.
that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, guys. It wasn't that bad. I wasn't stressing out and, literally sweating.
No
and,
stress.
No stress, guys. No stress.
No stress.
Yeah,
No
I
stress.
didn't crash 2 times once. No,
Yeah.
that didn't happen. Cameron
Was
did
it
die.
like-
That didn't happen either.
That didn't happen. Don't
That
worry
didn't
about it.
happen.
Don't worry.
Never stress. But yeah.
That's a good sign of a successful event, though, is everything could be on fire behind the scenes, but as long as the people watching had no idea that there was a giant bonfire
Oh yeah.
in the back, then you were good.
I mean,
it doesn't matter how many.
That's basically every event. Okay, like every time I run an event, like something's happening in the background, and whenever and Crumpet's streaming, so Crumpet just sees the good stuff and it's like, wow, this is a cool event. And I'm just like, you don't know, man. I don't know. It's just so much shit going on in Fire, dude.
Yep. Ah, man, 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, that's the.
Yeah, it went great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you are you excited for any upcoming like VRChat updates? Like Udon UI, anything that's like upcoming? They're like, oh, I need this in VRChat. I'm really looking forward to this update.
Creator economy is the only one that I care about.
Okay.
There might be some other things, but honestly, creator economy is the only thing that's only if they do it right. And like, I was really like hoping to get groups working like in January, but it took us a long time for that to happen. It took us 6 months before we got like a couple of small changes that we really needed for them to be useful. I hope we don't end up repeating another one of those situations, because that's the one that's going to really affect things. I mean, there's some other stuff, like being able to program in different scripting languages. I don't know, like maybe there'll be something. We're in a space right now where like a small thing could have a massive impact that people weren't really expecting.
Yeah.
For example, like one of the reasons why I'm watching so closely at the Chill Out VR scripting, if they don't have a 5-second delay when it comes to, you know, reading or writing to external sources or text files, that's kind of huge. That'd be like really, really insane. And like they could, like, to them that would probably be like a mistake, because that would be giving us way too much power. But like, you know, little things like that, I can just have this like absurd ripple effect. You know what I mean? It's like anything can happen at any moment. So I'm really kind of just hoping, like, you know, like, oops, they accidentally got rid of the 5-second delay between loading text files and images. And it's like, oh yes, give me that. I'll take that. Now I could do anything I want. Ha 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 ha. You know, like at the moment, I'm just hoping on the creator economy being a thing, and hopefully they don't like make it unusable or something.
I get you. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in world building for VRChat?
I don't know. Everybody's at a different stage. Just general advice. Look at what others are building, but like that's usually why somebody builds something, is because they're inspired by somebody else's work, and they're like, I want to build something too. So that's kind of a redundant thing to say. Usually when somebody's first starting, like you're just getting involved with all this stuff, like just dig in, man. Dig in. Don't just get your hands as dirty as possible, because you're gonna run through a lot of process of like learning. Like it is a huge topic. You're getting involved with game development, whether you realize it or not, and like you know what I mean. Just there's really no formula other than just you know, pull apart as much of it as you can and make mistakes. You know, things aren't going to be perfect the first time you do them, and just dive in as hard as you can, and that'll probably get you to a point where, you know, after a certain amount of time that you've been doing it, that you'll start to catch on. You might catch your stride. It takes a long time to catch your stride. And don't get discouraged just because you're not doing that, just because you haven't caught it, because it takes time. Everyone starts somewhere. You know, my original Doom maps were garbage. They were gigantic one-sector worlds with like that it was just basically a maze. You know what I mean? Like all the kind of stuff that when I first got started with this, it was, you know, I didn't know what I was doing, and it's going to be the same thing for pretty much everybody when they first start out. So yeah, get your hands dirty. It's the only way to do it.
I guess yeah, it's the same for like an avatar creator. You got to learn somehow. You just got to dive right into Blender, Unity, and poke around and learn some things. I used to make worlds 4
Yeah.
years ago. I made Presentation Room Plus, then I made my own talk show set. Not this one, but I made like a shittier version. I started somewhere, and then instead of building it, I was like, wait, I could just pay someone to do it who's better, and then I did. But, that's just me. I didn't have to. I could have saved money and just built this set. It probably would have taken me twice as long to learn everything and do it myself and save some money. But I was just like, I'll just pay someone. And then, as a shortcut. I mean, it's the same thing with anything. I could have learned how to draw. I could have learned how to make a 2D model, But
Yeah.
instead, I pay
There's a
people
lot
to
of
do
ways to
things.
do it.
I like to be an organizer. I like to be an entertainer rather than someone that sits behind a computer and codes for 12 hours a day. That's just the way I am. So, that's why, like, when I hired you to work for me in this world, I don't think people remember or knew that, but you helped me with this world. You built me the chill discussion set and then the podcast set. So, yeah, like,
Yeah.
Those are sets I did use,
And-
once in a while. So
Yeah, no, that's really good, and also too, like, I'm wondering if it also set sort of the stage on how, no pun intended, set the stage on how to like, deal with doing light mapping on the different stage setups
yeah,
and stuff like that. But oh my god, like it was a bit of a project. It was a lot more than it might seem.
no, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like, I inspired people to make their own talk shows. I mean, What the Puck was a thing like a year ago, and he ran his own show because he watched my show. So you could say that I'm influencing other people, and I could probably say the same.
Absolutely.
Maybe someday someone watches you or hangs out at the Oasis and says, "Hey, Cass, this is pretty cool." Maybe in a year,
yeah.
maybe they'll make their own Oasis and call it something else.
There's quite a few in the works right now.
There you go.
They're all attacking it at different angles. Well, one of the things that's kind of funny about it is that people who are building large worlds right now are doing what basically is what I kind of see as being the bread and butter of the creator economy, because the creator economy gives you a lot of ability to do these sort of like microtransaction type environments with a free to play model.
Yep.
Well, a really big world gives you a lot of surface area for those types of things. So like when I see things like Conflux, which is another mega world that's being developed right now, or I look at maybe a Tube District, it looks like it's kind of like being set up as sort of like a mega world, and you sort of see all this stuff. I think if a lot of people are paying attention to what I'm doing with Oasis 2.0, you might start sort of noticing additional things too, like having an inventory system kind of plays a lot into the role, allowing people to build their own environment and then have unique spawns. Like it doesn't seem obvious now, but like in the future it'll probably be something that we see all over the place because people it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just makes a lot of sense.
I always say, like, competition breeds creativity. When you have two companies trying to make be the best first-person shooter, like, okay, well, we got to add perks. Oh, we got to add different types of map layouts. Oh, we got to do something to be better. It's the same with like fast food. They're like, well, this guy's got, they got never frozen beef, and this guy's got flame broiled. Fuck, we got to do something else, man. We got to, I don't know, man, fresh ingredients. I don't fucking know. We got to figure it out. So like, when you have competition, or it causes people to innovate, to get better and stuff like that. Like, for example, when I heard about other people running a talk show, I was like, okay, well, I got to make my show better. And I did. That's why I had like this camera system that follows my head now, like, and it follows the player.
Yeah, it's
like,
really cool.
That was all developed because I heard of other people. I was like, oh shit, I'm not cool anymore. I gotta innovate. So it's all cause and effect, all the lighting system too. Yeah, again, spotlight, all that jazz.
Yeah, it was dark in here.
Yeah, who turned off the lights, man? Holy shit, dude. Alright, don't play with the lights,
really
man.
cool.
Don't play with the lights, man. This is one of my last interviews, okay? We don't need a light out situation, bro. Anyway, what's the biggest compliment?
God, I wish this coffee was real.
One day, man. What is the biggest compliment someone has given you, about you, or about your worlds or content?
I don't know. I don't know. Biggest compliment.
Yeah. Someone been like walked up to the Oasis and be like, "Wait, you made this?" And then they said, "X thing."
I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. I couldn't begin to possibly even pick anything out. Like, I do get a lot of people who are surprised. They're like, "Wait, what is this?" And then I show them, and I'm like, "You built this?" And I'm like,
You built this?
"Yeah."
That
But
was
the
me.
only thing is, though, is that
That was me when I first met you. You built this?
yeah.
What?
Um. Uh, yeah. There's been a lot of stuff like that. I think the biggest compliment is like when I talk to my buddy Confuse, and he's like absolutely adamant. He's building a mega world. He doesn't care, you know.
Yeah.
Or if you have somebody like Wispy Woo, Wispy, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, I absolutely want to do something like that. But like, I don't know if that's necessarily like a compliment. It's more like you know, they think it's a good idea too. I don't know. It's interesting to see what people are doing. I mean, if Conflux, which is a mega world that's based off of the Club Crucible, you know, everything like that, they don't realize how successful they're gonna be. I think that their initial reasons for copying the idea might not have been in line necessarily with just doing it because it's gonna better the space, but because they wanted to do it just so that they can have something similar. And in the end, they're gonna probably, if they continue doing what they do, they're gonna be very successful. I imagine that they're probably already doing pretty well. I have no idea actually. So, but that's like a whole thing in and of itself.
I get
I
you.
don't know.
We'll see what the future holds. We'll see the other mega worlds that come in. I never know, man. You be the pioneer, and everyone's like, I'm going to make my own mega world and try to replicate GTA RP or something. And be like, give me your money, bro. Give me your money, dude. And you get robbed, and then you know you're in the prison, and then you're sitting there for 30 minutes, and then you're like, what the fuck, man?
I want that so bad. I want to see the mega world have RP elements.
Yeah.
I want to. It's like it's a big place with a whole bunch of things that are like relevant in terms of like us throwing events and stuff like that, and private residencies. But also people like driving cars down the street and like they stop at a gas station and they, you know what I mean? And they just role play. Like, oh my god, if I could just get that, it's gonna be difficult to do, but I mean, maybe it'll be a thing. But
One of these
I'd love to
days.
have that. Yeah.
We'll see. So, we'll start taking some questions from the chat/audience. Does anybody have any questions here? Before we'll take audience questions, I have questions from the Google Doc, which I always take first because these are like from an hour ago, probably. So the first one comes from Gunblader123. They said, "This is for Castle. Have you ever worked
buddy.
on any AAA games,
Oh yeah, I've worked on many.
such
That was
as?"
that was pretty much what I did. Oh boy, let's see, AAA games. Oh god, I can remember like from the very beginning. I know that there's Call of Duty, Warframe,
You're working on Call of Duty?
Synap. So yeah, I worked on multiplayer. I worked
Oh,
at
okay.
Nerve Software for a little while, so you can like look at everything that Nerve Software did. There's games that I did that weren't AAA, that are smaller scale. But I've worked on a lot of projects over the years.
I love Subnautica.
I worked. Yeah, Subnautica. Subnautica was a really good one, but I was only in the very beginnings
Yeah.
when the game was being first like set up. I actually have like a whole bunch of videos of me working on it, and you can kind of see it was like very early in the game's life. It was kind of like for a little while, and then I decided to experiment with, you know, maybe going back to the AAA industry because I didn't know like what it was going to be like to continue working in the indie space. And honestly, it was a mistake because the corporate environment was not conducive to me at all. I was actually a lot better off just sticking to working with Unknown Worlds, but that's hey, what are you gonna do? But like when I worked at Nerf Software, it was a pleasure. Like was a great company to work for. We worked closely with id Software on countless things. We worked with Gearbox. We worked with everybody because it was mostly contract house stuff that I did when I was at Ritual Entertainment and all these different places. And so we'd end up working on so many things I can't like pick them all out of my head. You know, a lot of projects that got canceled. A lot of them didn't make it. I worked on a Quake 4 expansion that didn't happen.
Fuck.
Yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool. You had some neat stuff going on in that one. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I can think back a long time.
I gotcha.
So
We got other questions.
yeah, it's like early 2000s.
Yeah. Jib Jib asked the question, how has being the front man of a community changed your day-to-day life?
It's all I do anymore. Literally. 100% focus. It's beautiful because my brain works that way. Probably not healthy, but it's I kind of have it's just sort of how I work. I don't think it's for everybody. But being able to have something like this and being able to be a part of it, and one of the problems that I had when I was working in the regular indie game industry is the feeling of being alone.
Ooh.
Which, yeah, because you work on a game by yourself for 2 years, man, you're gonna come out of there like with a beard and a like you've been living in a cave, and and you're like, hey guys, hey Reddit, do you want to see my game? And like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'd probably a lot less healthy, honestly.
Is this a good like a reference would be like that meme where like you're in the corner with the beer and it's like, they didn't know this, but I worked on Subnautica. I actually was one of the first developers. They don't know this, guys. They didn't know I worked on the game, bro.
Yeah.
I made the Oasis.
Yeah.
I did that.
Everybody knows I made the Oasis. Nobody knows what I worked on before that.
Oh, okay. Hey, I do. I know. You told me. We did back in the day.
Yeah.
Now they don't for this interview.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. Now they'll know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been mentioned a few times and stuff like that. I don't know if it's really relevant anymore, honestly. Like, it really isn't. I mean, it kind of is, but it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. But
gotcha.
everything's different now.
Gunbladder asked the question, or Blader, why is your tail the fluffiest tail in the history of tails? Does Donuts envy it? Is that supposed to be Donuts VRC?
Yeah, Donuts.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it's pretty fluffy, but I know some fluffy tails, like way more fluffy than my tail.
Yeah,
I'm working
gotcha.
on it though. Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta shampoo daily, It's expensive.
I gotcha.
Sheesh.
Does anybody in the studio here have a question for Castle Rye? Flame Knight has a question.
Is there a Flame Knight here?
Yeah, they're the robot. Just give it a sec for the cameraman to figure things out here.
Flame Knight?
Or I said Fallen Flames. My bad, dude. I'm fucking.
Fuck.
Bro, dude.
That would've been pretty-
Listen, dude. I'm tired.
I'm listening, man. Jeez.
Flame Knight. I was like,
Flame
wow, that'd
Knight
be crazy.
7's here.
How did that
Oh
happen?
shit, dude. Yo, what's up? What's up, Fallen Flames?
Hello.
I do have a question. This is the usual typical question I usually ask everyone, but like, what do you see yourself like for 10 years from now? Like, what do you want to expand?
Oh, I want to keep doing this. That's one of the reasons why I want to make sure that the space continues to grow, and that we cultivate competition and everything like that. Because I want to try and have a healthy environment for me to continue doing what I'm doing. Because I don't necessarily know if I want to work in the AAA space ever again. I mean, I could if I really wanted to. I probably could call someone up and be like, hey, I don't want to do that though. What I want to do is like I want to try and keep riding this wave, but I need it to grow in a specific way in order for that to continue. And then it's just going to be the Oasis just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, crazier and crazier with more stuff.
Okay.
Kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And that's the idea. 10 years, though? Who knows? God, that's a long time. The last 2 years have felt like the last 5 for me working on the Oasis.
Yeah, I feel
my
that,
God.
man. Man, shit, man. 10 years from now, man, you never know, man. Might be full dive, fucking SAO up in this bitch, you
Oh,
know?
who knows? Yeah, we go into that, and then who knows even
yeah,
what's going
bro.
on at that point, you know? Oh, boy.
Yeah, have super haptic suits, man. Then you can actually feel your tail in real life. You're like, oh shit, bro.
It really is as fluffy as it looks.
Oh snap. There you go. See? Anything's possible. Do you have any questions for me, Castle, or anything you want to discuss?
Honestly, if I was to ask anything, it's like, you say this is your last interview, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I mean, I guess you've probably already talked to people about what you're doing next and how you're gonna be doing that, but like, what's gonna be your situation?
So,
You
for
know,
those,
where you see yourself.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, this is going to be one of my last interviews that I do in VR chat because I'm going to be moving on to VTubing in hopefully a few weeks here, so early September of 2023. I'm just saying that for the future in case someone watches this like 10 years from now. Is essentially I'm going to hopefully debut as a live 2D VTuber where I basically do the exact same thing here, just in a 2D space. Now you might be thinking, does that mean you're quitting VR chat? No, I'm still playing VR chat. I'm just changing my focus. So I'll still have the world here. I'll still have it probably up to date, you know, with all the SDKs and stuff. Never say never. So obviously, you know, if sometime in the future, you know, someone comes to me and says, hey, I really want to be on your talk show in VR, it has to be in VR chat. It can't be on Discord. It can't be two-dimensional. It has to be in this set. Sure, you know, there's always an exception to the rule. I'm just saying I'm going to be shifting my focus to the 2D stuff and then to go from there. Will I still do showcases? Sure, if I have time, because I'm, you know, in the process of getting this house sold and moving and shit like that. But, you know, I'll still do showcases. I'll still do attend events and things like that. So, yeah, like what you dead guys. I'm graduating from VR chat, dude. so yeah,
Graduating.
I'm graduating. Only took 10,000 hours, guys. So I'm still gonna be doing basically the exact same thing. Like the only real difference is that I'll be sitting in my chair without a headset on, just doing it over Discord, and I like literally recreated this set in 2D. I'll have a 2D model, and the person I'm interviewing is gonna be probably a VTuber. But here's the additional thing. I have a setup where I can actually interview anybody. It doesn't matter if you're two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or an IRL person. I can interview anybody in a 2D space because I have it all set up in a very specific way where I can just call them and put them into a TV monitor, and it looks like I'm interviewing them, and they're just a human, you know, or whatever. They're an actual person, you know. So I have actually way more opportunities to interview people because you got to realize, well, I'm in VR chat here. What I have is cool, but I'm very sort of locked to what I can do because, oh, you have to be in VR chat. Oh, you got to have a model. Oh, you got to have full body. Oh, you got to have this. So it's a lot of like restrictions where if I'm a 2D person and I just have to call you on Discord, I can interview anybody. There's 7 billion people on this planet I can interview at that point. VR chat only has a fraction of that. So, you know. Angel has the question, how do you feel about generative or generative AI? Is that how you pronounce that?
Oh, AI, huh?
Yeah, how do you feel about AI?
That's just another new technology.
Just another new technology.
Just another one.
The only thing I know about...
It's interesting.
There's only two things I
It's
know about...
interesting that it's
Oh, go ahead.
yeah.
I was just going to say...
Oh, wait, that wasn't a question for me.
I don't know. I don't know if it's for me or not, but I'll just answer it. I only know two things about AI. Number one, AI art. You can use it to get a rough idea. That's how I got my idea for my live 2D model, was using AI art just to get a rough idea. So I don't have to, spend $1 million on something. I could just look at it and get some references. So if you use it as a reference,
Yeah.
great. The other thing I've learned about AI that affects VR chat in a capacity here is that a lot of mutes have been using AI voices to speak.
Yep.
And
There.
so that's interesting as well. So do I think AI
Yes.
is interesting, or some people have used AI to stream with? What's that bot called? Neurosama. So like people have started using AI to essentially become a VTuber or become a streamer, or chat GBT, like that generates storylines and shit. So like, do I think AI is interesting? Yes, it's not perfect. There's also like AI Donald Trump, and be like, build that wall, British, and I'm like, oh shit, bro. So like, I think AI is interesting. I don't think it's something that you should like hold your breath for, and also should be careful with, because there's examples in the past where like, I can't remember, it was a couple years ago where like AI was used to like learn everything on the internet, and then it just became like a Nazi or some shit like that. Like, you have to be careful not to actually turn into fucking Skynet and shit like that, the Terminator. So
Yeah, well, we've had plenty of movies that have warned us about this. Also, a lot of Black Mirror episodes.
yeah,
We're kind of, it's
Striking
almost like
Viper.
somebody's trying to tell us something.
I think that's just VRChat in a
Yeah.
nutshell. You ever watched that episode?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, there's a Black Mirror episode called
Striking Viper. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's where they
Yes, the fighting game.
Yes, where he's like, "Oh, I'm playing this fighting game," and he's like, "You want to fuck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is just VRChat ERP." And he's like, "Is this cheating on my wife? I don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard this situation like 50 times in VRChat." So, yeah.
Oh man, the neat thing about that is how naive it was. It's like, whoa, they have full dive and they're just learning about that. That wasn't the topic that they were
Yeah.
already well aware of by the time they
Yeah.
got full dive. Okay, wow. You can't get to this without at first going through all the other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did you arrive at that conclusion? I was like, yeah, we were just playing this fighting game and we just started Europeing with each other.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Listen,
how did you not know about that?
I always say the most degenerate people are the ones that are the most creative, because if people are desperate enough to want to fuck, they'll make the technology, okay? Like, think about,
Yeah.
DPS, okay? Some guy was horny. He was like, sex in this game sucks. I want to make it better. And now everyone uses it. So, guy's a billionaire,
Yeah. Yep. If you build it, they will come.
Yes, come literally. So, there's that. There's physics bones,
I just meant show up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, come. Yeah, they always want to show up, bro.
I'm sorry, Angel.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh no.
I'm the lewd one here. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You're the little
Yeah,
one.
I'll take
right.
all the heat. But yeah, I mean,
what kind of heat we talking?
I mean, I've talked to some people that are super genius level in VR chat, and like they develop crazy things. Like, you ever met Scorn or Screen? SCRN. They make some crazy ass shit in this game that I'll never understand. They literally created like the Tesla, like they created a system that detects if you're a human or not, and if you're not, it'll detect that that's a chair. That just knows it by the shape. And they wrote this language up, and then they wrote like a kanji, like Japanese thing where like you just write the kanji and it just knows. Oh, that's kanji. That's what you're trying to say. I'm like, what the? This is on an avatar. This isn't in the world. This is just an avatar. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. As soon as I meet a cybersecurity expert, I always know that deep down inside, I can just immediately ask them what their persona is.
Oh yeah. Listen. It all traces back to BioShock, man. What was the girl's name from BioShock Infinite? Oh God, Isabella. What Elizabeth? Elizabeth.
Isabel?
Elizabeth. Yeah, that
can't
one,
remember.
right? It all started from there, man. And then after that, it was Overwatch, and Overwatch, you know, Widowmaker and those, you know, yeah, you know, it all starts from there, man. It all starts from there, man. It's a pipeline.
Yeah. It's a pipeline, the puns.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah. I'm laying some pipe, you know. By pipe, I mean
Running
the
water is
foundation.
important.
Yeah, running water is important.
Yeah.
Because you have to walk before you run. And by run, I mean running my stream into the ground. And by ground, I mean being successful.
Man.
But anyway, we're coming up on the end here. Is there anything else you want to discuss, or any last minute things you want to say to everyone watching, Castle?
Yeah, we're running events now. Club Zinx is running events 7 days a week in both VR chat and Chill Out VR at the same time. And it's a pretty interesting ability to be able to see both platforms coexisting in a way where we're not saying go to Chill Out VR, but we're saying it doesn't matter. You can enjoy both platforms and you can actually check them both out. And we can also party together, and it's about bringing people together. And I think that's a really cool thing, and I think that's a core tenet. I'm pretty sure that's what the owner of Club Zinc Zoth has talked to me about many times in the past, and I think that you know, it's definitely something to check out. Club Zinx is we're running events every night, you know,
Oh, heck yeah.
every single night, and it's very active over in Chill Out. It's very active in VR chat as well. So, you know, here at the Oasis. So,
Heck yeah, man.
yep.
Go check out the Oasis. You can there's a link to it, estimation by guests into the chat. Goes to the group, the VR chat group, which has your Discord, your Twitter, all that jazz, and people can go check it out. Again, this is Castle. You know, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everyone for watching on Twitch, and thank you again for 300 interviews. Like, holy shit, you know, I finally did
300.
it. 300, you know. Holy
This
fuck.
is Sparta.
Yeah, exactly. I got kicked out that window, basically. All right, thank you, everybody. You can hit the stream outro, and we're gonna go raid somebody. There we go. Take care, everybody. I'll see you as a VTuber soon.
Oh, I gotta stretch my legs. Ah.
We'll raid over.
I just want to stand up. Just look, gonna go.
Yeah.